Hello everyone and welcome to this video. My name is Pietro and today I'm gonna show you the results that I got from an analysis of the performances of Kerbal Space Program 2 on my Lenovo Legion Y540. Why am I doing this? Well, because a few days ago, prior to the early access release of Kerbal Space Program 2, the minimum requirements were sent out and my laptop does not meet these requirements. But in any case, since I've been playing Kerbal for so long and I've been waiting for Kerbal 2 for such a long time since the announcement back in 2020, I decided that I was gonna buy the game. Therefore, I tried it and I wanna let you know that even if your hardware does not meet the requirement, you can try and play it, obviously with some compromises. So let's go into the task manager so that we can see what are my specs, and then I'm gonna show you the performances in the various presets of graphics. From here in the task manager we can see what are the specs of my hardware. I have an Intel i7 9750H running at 2.60 GHz. I have 16 GB of RAM which barely meets the minimum requirements. I am running the game from an HDD since I ran out of space on the SSD, which may affect the loading times, and I'm also using this GeForce GTX 1660 Ti GPU which has 6 GB of video memory and also does not meet the minimum requirements set out by the Kerbal Space Program team, but in any case the game can actually run, even though obviously it makes it at very low FPS and can be kind of a struggle if tested, if used for bigger spacecraft, which I still have to try out personally. So let's now take a look at the table of the frames per second obtained in the various situations, and as you can see the differences are not that big. Yeah, when running everything at low in 1080 we had a few more FPS on the launch pad, a few more FPS during the takeoff after the separations of the boosters, but the differences are very small. In high quality, yeah, everything was a little lower, if not during the time warp and the re-entry, which were actually bigger, but this may be due to the fact that the game was running from a longer time and it already loaded in some of the textures or the mission or something like that. I have no idea. While running everything at a low quality at 720p or in windowed, well, I found that in full screen the performances were better in the majority of the cases with respect to windowed, and the difference that I found with respect to the other two settings in 1080p is that at 720, when looking at Kerbal from space, the FPS did not drop so much with respect to what they were doing previously, while at 1080p in high or low the FPS were dropping at 11, 12 when looking at the planet. In 720 instead the FPS were staying at more or less 20 frames, which was in line to what was happening during the shut-off and second stage phase, which were at the same height above the surface of Kerbal. The rocket that I set up for this mission had about 80 parts, which is a fair number for a rocket that could go to the Moon or to Minmus in an easy way. It had two solid rocket boosters to test what was the interaction with the gas plumes and all the particles that must be simulated by the game, and two liquid fueled boosters on the side. They were connected with fuel lines to the central one to do asparagus staging. This is due to the fact that we know that the fuel lines in Kerbal Space Program 1 were making the game lag quite significantly, and so I wanted to test it out in one of the hardest, let's say, conditions. Obviously I didn't create a gigantic rocket that's gonna have to wait. We are gonna have to drop the FPS even more for rockets with even more parts, but it is what it is. I guess that now I can show the various videos of how the game was performing in the different situations, and you can judge by yourself, knowing what were the FPS results that I just showed in the previous section of the video. In the next 4 clips you're gonna see what were the values of the usage of GPU, RAM and CPU in value and in percentage, and also the FPS for each section of the simple mission, suborbital mission that I did 4 different times in the 4 different graphic conditions. So I just closed the game by making sure that I set everything to low And then as soon as I load back into the game has this very confusionary state. If I hover over the high stuff, then it shows me that it's just too low. The environment prop, even if it's off, it has everything selected, which I don't know what it means. There's the window word option, which okay, also by hovering over it, it deactivates. I guess that like this it means that we are everything at low. Okay, apply, reset those things. Now everything should be at low for real. Okay, so we are at the launchpad. We have about 20 FPS, both by Riva Tuner and also by the in-game settings of FPS. This is everything set to low, so we have very low quality of the clouds, of the shadows, of the water, of the skybox, stuff like that. The staging is set up correctly, so let's proceed for another launch test. Skip the countdown and let's just go. FPS go around 15, 14 for Riva Tuner, the game more or less confirms the same. This is while looking at half of the planet, this is while looking directly at the planet, not that much of a difference. RAM increased to 91% right now for some reason. We gain 2 or 3 FPS by watching just at the sky, by zooming out to the maximum zoom out and watching at the sky. We stay more or less the same value of FPS, maybe a little bit more. Let's try and time warp times 2 to see what happens. The frame rate drops a little bit, that's fair, that's normal. Still 90% GPU, 90% RAM, 40% CPU. The CPU is not that much used, and that's kind of weird. Shut off of the boosters, and that increased a little bit the FPS after the FPS drop during the separation. Let's see what's gonna happen when we're gonna stop using the fuel ducts here. We also increase a little bit of the FPS. We are at 20 something now. Let's stop this stage and go for the next one. Dropping down to even less parts. Doesn't really change it that much for now. But we are at a solid 30 FPS about there. Still 91% usage for the GPU and 87 for the RAM. So those are the usage values. Can just stop the engine, we gain a few more FPS by stopping the burn, by staging and staying just with the capsule. We get even more now, we have just 2 parts here, so it's normal that we have better FPS. Yeah, that's weird that it made you stop a song request in George. I'm surprised about it too, I have no idea why it would be that case. So obviously you went back in the atmosphere and time warping at times 4, the FPS dropped to 20, while instead they peaked at around 38, 40. While just in space, looking just at the planet, at the sky and not at the planet. Again, we can increase the FPS significantly by looking just at the sky. Let's slow down the time warp, and they go up to 246. Let's deactivate the SAS. And restart the time warp, which obviously drops the FPS by a significant amount. Splash! And we have some about 20 FPS while in the ground, while on the water I mean, which again increase if we look away from the surface, and the spacecraft is spinning around like crazy. What happens if we activate the SAS? Stabilizes a little bit, I guess. Okay, so again, shut off the game, reloaded the game with everything set to high. Again, had to hover over the stuff to make the fake things disappear. We have everything set to high, and so we can see it also from here. We have the clouds, which are very cool. We have our space station flying around. 60 FPS because I capped the FPS to 60 from Riva Tuner. The game says that it could process 70 something FPS. Let's try and load one of. So we are now at the launch pad with everything set to high. As you can see from here, everything is high. It's not windowed, it's not medium, everything is high. It's just the game trolling again. Let's see what's gonna happen now during the launch. We are 67, 17 FPS right now. 16, 17 FPS. 20 FPS says the in-game counter. Let's just make sure the staging is correct and hit go. Skip the countdown. FPS dropped to 8 for a moment there. We're about 14 for Riva Tuner. Same more or less value for the game. Counter to 90% of use of the GPU, 80% of the RAM. So the usage doesn't seem that different. And the effects are noticeably better. And having the clouds, it's very cool. But there is some FPS drop. For sure. FPS in this moment, 90% of GPU usage, 80% of RAM. Solid rocket boosters are gonna run for fuel soon, so we can get rid of them and see how much the FPS is gonna improve. Separation, we gained 2 or 3 FPS from that. Let's see when the fuel pumps are gonna stop working for this asparagus staging. There we go. Gained 2 or 3 more FPS from that. Then we have this weird bug at around 20,000 meters. Okay, we are at 20 FPS, 22 FPS while watching at the sky. They dropped to 10, 11 while watching instead of the planet and the clouds and everything. Let's try now and shut out the engine. Stage by the second. Again we gained 2 or 3 FPS by reducing the number of parts. Let's see what happens now. We're gonna shut up this one. The FPS increase and go, they touched 35. By separating again, we almost hit 40 FPS. Obviously watching at the planet still gives us 10 more or less FPS. Let's time warp and see what happens during the re-entry. Let's say retrograde. Obviously time warping decreases a little bit FPS. We are at 20 in the re-entry, while instead without time warp we can hit 50. Again, not that much changes during the re-entry since there are no visual effects of the re-entry. Passing through the clouds didn't really affect the velocity. Ooh, I forgot about the parachute. Deploy, please. I was distracted by the clouds and did not deploy the parachute in time. Okay, so now we set instead everything to low again, and we set also the resolution to 720p just to see how this was gonna perform if in the extreme case or the extreme situation in which someone should have to play with these graphics settings here. Therefore, let's try and load in the game and see what happens now. Yeah, I guess that like after this thing I would like to start and do some complex mission, but the problem is that the game was erasing my saves, my vehicles and stuff, so I'm kind of scared of trying it, to be honest. So I said, let's go, let's ready for the launch at 720p, everything set to low. The drop of frames during the launch is the same as before. The FPS during launch did not really improve that much. GPU usage is still at 92%. The RAM maybe is a little lower. Yeah, I would say that for the FPS improvement, the whole improvement was really noticeable inside of the vehicle assembly building, not that much around here. Let's see what's gonna happen when we drop the FPS. Well, when we drop the boosters. From 15 to 18 maximum. Yeah, still more or less the same values. Let's see when we drop the liquids. Some lag there, which is understandable. We have the RAM at 68%, which is highly improved from before. And I don't understand how it will be related with lowering the graphical settings, like the graphical resolution. So coming up on first stage separation, let's see how much FPS, how many FPS we're gonna get from this. They increased a little bit, we're around 24, we hit 26. Watching the ground in this resolution doesn't have that much effect, which is definitely cool. So maybe this is a pro of 720, like if you need to land somewhere you can just decrease the resolution for that setting. Yeah, actually this is surprising. Like, there is not that much difference from 27 to 24, which is way better than previously. Okay, so let's watch the skybox. Separate from the upper stage. We also gained a few FPS. The maximum weight previously was 50 in this kind of situation. Let's see where we can get now. We are outside of the atmosphere. Okay, this is weird. Does not increase. Stuck at 30 FPS or around there, no matter where we are watching. Actually the FPS increases while looking at the sun. Yeah, so the RAM usage decreased considerably, I would say. GPU is still the same as before. Probably the GPU usage is even capped to avoid it exploding. Try not forget to activate the parachutes as I did in the last flight. Woo! Yeah, so playing in 720 is possible, but yeah. You know I want you, you always handmade for somebody like me. Come on now, follow my lead. I may be crazy, don't mind me, said boy. Let's not talk too much. Follow my wrist and put that body on me. Come on now, follow my lead. Come on now, Okay. So we are again at the launch pad right now, playing in 720p, windowed mode with everything deactivated. As you can see, we have no clouds, the water quality is the lowest one and everything. We're getting 20 something FPS, which I guess is the maximum value we ever got until now. Let's see what's gonna happen during the launch then. Skip the countdown. The FPS dropped to 1 for a second there. We're getting about 14, 13 FPS during launch, so we are in line with what was happening also with the other textures, with the, well, not other textures, because like the structural textures are always the same, but with the high definition 1080 or the low definition 1080, regarding everything of the stuff that we can manage. Yeah, the sky are still getting 15 FPS. Zooming out, increase a little bit, 16, 17, something like that. Coming up on booster separation, let's see what's gonna happen now. Usual FPS drop for the release, and then maximum of 18, 17, so increased of 1.5, 2 FPS, let's say. Coming up on liquid booster separation. Still a little improvement. Let's see if again at 20 kilometers we're gonna get, yeah, look at that. Maybe it's when this reference changes that it does that weird behavior with the aerodynamics. Okay, we just got an FPS increase after those 4 small things disappeared. Let's see now what's gonna happen when I'm gonna stop this engine. An increase of about 6-7 FPS. Deploy. More or less around there. Turning on the engine obviously reduces it. Zooming out helps in some way. Watching the sky, again, still similar results. Yeah, the RAM value is lower, 74%, while the GPU stays at 90 in each case, like it didn't change, nothing. The CPU maybe decreased also a little bit in this condition of 720p. Let's stop this and again separate. And we are, yeah, just barely below 40 FPS with these conditions. We're already in space, yes. Time warp. Now we hit 55, I guess because we are out of range of the other parts. Hardware usage is always the same. .56 FPS. So yeah, definitely 720p helps sometime, but like the improvement is so small that I don't think that it's worth breaking your eyes by playing in these conditions. And playing in windowed mode too. Let's splash down at 39 FPS.